Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey, everyone. It's Duncan here with another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, where we chat with CEOs and founders of mission-driven food and beverage companies. So it's a very interesting group of people, founders. They've got a vision. They'll kill everyone else in the boat to get to their vision. We love talking to these people. And this episode is brought to you by the company that I founded, Firebelly, where we work with food and beverage brands. We've worked with Envy Apples, Fiji Water, Justin Winery, Bake Believe, and many other cool brands. And so let me welcome immediately Greg Vetter to the show. Welcome, Greg.
Happy to be here.
My man, you're the CEO of Tessemae, and let's get it from you. Tell us who the company is and what the story is.
So we started a salad dressing company off of my mom's recipe. A neighbor broke into my house and stole it. And I thought if a man was going to steal another man's salad dressing, then I should probably bottle that. That was 13 years ago. And so now we're the number one organic salad dressing in the country.
And what's interesting about it is your mom's still involved in the company.
She answers all the customer service emails. So if you have a problem with an order and you get someone with an attitude, it is her.
That's amazing. I love it. And family plays a big part in your company. I mean, I remember I've listened to some of your podcasts, and I remember you saying when you first started thinking about this, you actually got your family together and you sat around your kitchen table to kind of decide, what are we going to do here?
Yep. So I have two younger brothers. They're in the business. My wife is in the business. My dad runs our foundation, and my mom is the original recipe developer, and then also handles what we call customer happiness. But usually if someone's emailing you, the thank yous are rare, and it's more a problem with something. So she handles that.
That's awesome. And also some of the other things that kind of make they make your product different, or your philosophy different, is it's clean food.
Yeah. So my mom just made this salad dressing. There was 5 ingredients and it tasted wonderful. And so when we went to launch it, we talked to all the consultants, and everybody said, go find a co-packer. And so we started looking into co-packers. What is that? What do they do? Everybody wanted thickening agents in it, and citric acid, and this and that, and this natural flavor and sugar. And we just were like, well, why can't we do it the way we make it here? And they go, oh, it can't be done. And we're like, yeah, I bet it could. And so we started hand making it forever. So for the first 3 years, we literally made it by hand with 50 bowls and handy fillers and everything else. And then all the while, we were trying to figure out, how can we mass produce a handmade product? And so we were working on existing bottling lines and trying to retrofit them to be able to make it without thickening agents. And then we figured it out. And then once we figured that out, we were able to develop additional products and scale it. And so all of that was rooted in clean food. And so there wasn't a term for it back then. It was just, we don't put any junk in it. And then, the clean food movement, I guess, began in 2010-ish. So we had a little bit of a head start. And then all the kind of food tribes began, separating out what is their little version of clean eating. And so you had your paleo and vegan and keto and Whole30 and this and that. And so when you make something clean and real, you get to be a part of all of those different food tribes. And so then everybody just kind of scaled together, because you could do some random diet if you wanted, and our products made it taste better, right? And so it was pretty simple in the grand scheme of things.
Makes me think of, I recently interviewed Neil Stewart, who is the former VP of Dogfish Head, counterculture beer. And what he said that you've just resonated is that they did not adopt the subcultures. The subcultures adopted them. And there was a there was a purist approach to what they were doing with at the time it was PBR that he was working with, but and the bike messenger culture approached them. But you were the first Whole30 approved bottle dressing, and you've continued your innovation. You were the one to start the first shelf stable creamy dressing free of gums and additives. So I think that how important is innovation in your business?
Well, it's very important for us because we are our own customer. And so when you do something special, everybody wants to copy you, but they can't copy what we do because we're the only ones that make or have figured out clean manufacturing. And so then they have to copy everything else. And so if you're not growing and you're not innovating and continuing to push it forward, then everybody ends up copying everything that you're doing. And so, and it can come down to packaging, right? So we did this beautiful packaging refresh in 2017, and we kind of rethought what salad dressing bottle packaging should look like. And now if you walk through the aisles, everything looks almost exactly the same as ours. And so then we, kind of came to that conclusion this year, and we're like, oh my God, we have to differentiate again. And so we did that. We kind of, went to my farm and we rethought what packaging should look like for kind of bright, bold, clean food. And so we just did a packaging refresh again. And the joke is we'll set the timer to see how quickly everybody copies it.
Well, that is validation that you're doing amazing things. I mean, just being the leader is so difficult. It's like it's easy to be the copycat and catch up and make something else better, but you're doing it first. So I got a couple of fun questions for you. You were a lacrosse player, professional lacrosse player. Are there some things that you think are transferable skills from being a professional lacrosse player to leading a company?
Yeah, I mean, just anybody that's a captain of any team knows that you got to lead by example and you got to do all the hard stuff. And, if you don't do it, the culture begins to deteriorate. So the work ethic side of setting a goal and working really hard towards it with no excuses and just going, regardless of whether or not people believe you're going to accomplish that goal or not, is something that we implement in our culture every single day. I mean, my brothers and I went to public school in kind of an area where they're not known for being really good at lacrosse. The area is, the schools aren't. And so when we would tell people, yeah, we're going to go and play in college, they're like, yeah, I don't know. And so you have to have these goals that maybe other people don't agree with, but that doesn't matter. They're not your goals, or they're not their goals. They're yours.
Got it. Love it. Love it. Okay. You ready? The curveball question, man. Who would play you in a movie?
Well, it depends on when the movie's made, right?
You can pick anyone at any time of their career.
Oh man. I don't even know. I would probably say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Oh!
Or Arnold, or how about this, young Arnold Schwarzenegger? Because my brothers always joke that I look like a young Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, I ran it by my team. I ran some of your pictures by my team, and the Firebelly vote was Val Kilmer, 1988. So there you go.
I'll take a young Val Kilmer any day of the week. That dude was a stud.
He was. He's an amazing guy. What about breaking rules, Greg? You guys, I don't know if it's breaking rules or making new rules, but it seems like you gotta have to make your own playbook.
Yeah, we did. We did things our own way, and I think it was beneficial in certain stages, and it was counterproductive in others. But once that's a part of who you are, you don't really get to turn it off and turn it on. And so if we hadn't done things our own way, we wouldn't be here today. I think at certain stages, using the playbook or the best practices of others is probably helpful, which we did not do. But at the same time, it continues to allow us to solve problems that other people can't solve and get big wins that other people don't get. And so I would say when you look at that and from a 30,000 foot view looking down on it, it ended up or continues to be a net positive.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting we're talking about clean food, right? And so I wanted to get a couple of just like heartfelt thoughts on the table, between the two of us. We spend our money and we decide how to spend our money on different things, but assuming people have the choice of buying the best quality, like high nutrient food that doesn't have a bunch of shit in it that you can't pronounce, is that the right thing to do? Should people, because I think to myself, like, my significant other, Angela, is constantly like, we need high nutrient food. She'll argue about why we should eat blueberries, instead of chocolate. Chocolate's fun, but, the blueberries are giving you things you need, or why we need to eat asparagus, or, why we need to buy farm-raised chicken where we can trace where the chicken's coming from. Now, it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Are you going to spend your money on entertainment, which is where a lot of people spend their money, or you're going to spend the money on good food?
My family chose the health route. And we still have a lot of fun and we still do wonderful stuff. But I think what we stopped doing was we stopped going to restaurants or other places that like really didn't bring us joy. There's this habit of we should just go out to dinner, right? Because it's fun. The experience is fun. But is it? Like, was the food actually really good? Was the environment actually really good? Did you really actually have a good time? Could you have done it better at your house?
Bravo.
And so what we decided to do was like, well, let's just buy, we all can cook. Why don't we just buy the best quality food? And why don't we enjoy each other's company and not be rushed in an environment with a waitress and everything else? And we'll have the same level of experience, but it will be better. We will not get inflammation or stomach issues or whatever, because they're putting weird industrial oils that maybe you don't know about.
Yeah.
Your alcoholic beverages are way cheaper at your house.
Correct.
And you don't have to drive afterwards. And so we just made this kind of conscious effort to like, listen, there's still restaurants that are absolutely worth every experience we go to, right? And we have a handful of them that we're just like, anytime we can go there, we go. But usually it's like, all right, what are we feeling tonight? Can we do it better? And so steak, I can do it better for the most part. Fish, I can do it better. Sushi, I can't do it better. So if we want sushi, we're going out. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But that's how we look at it. In doing it, we bring our kids together. They learn how to cook. They get to experience wonderful food. They get to ask questions, and there's always this really wonderful grounding in the day. And cooking is not calm in the grand scheme of things, but it is calming in the sense where everybody's together and they're all experiencing something that is really kind of beneficial for everyone.
I love the perspective, and I know a couple of years ago you presented the TED Talk, The Dinner Habit, the Recipe for Change. And I listened to it, and we decided I loved it so much. I explained it to my family, and I said, we're going to do this. We started doing it, 3 weeks ago, and we explained, our son's 11. We explained to him what we're trying to do. This is your role with dinner, and this is mama's role with dinner, and this is papa's role with dinner. And sometimes it switches around. And I wanted to hear from you. I mean, you're the originator of this idea, or at least you're the one that presented it so eloquently. Why should families have dinner together? And could we change our futures doing it?
Well, I'll kind of revert back to any goal that you have in your life. If you focus on it day in and day out, obsessional desire, if you will, you are most likely going to accomplish it, or you're going to get very good at it. And you're going to notice whether or not you're on track or you're off track. And so with your family, or my family, I have 4 kids ranging from 11 to 6. It is our moment to check on whether or not they are on track with their life and our life. And how are we doing with, happiness and health and engagement and questions and all of these little things that can fall to the wayside if you don't check in. And there's the, business saying, if you can't manage it, you can't measure it. And it's all about metrics, and it's all about this. And you can't really do that for emotional well-being, but we have an intuitive sense of whether or not our kids are happy, or we're happy, or they're feeling good, or we are. And all of that comes down to engagement and time and focus, and this kind of on-track check-in that every single night, or it can be any meal. Right now it's the summer. So there's, we're breakfast, lunch, and dinner basically at this stage, but you get to see, like, how are you doing? How was camp? How was lacrosse tryouts? How was your sleepover? And you see these kind of drastic changes, and then you can edit accordingly. And if you don't have that moment for the check-in, you can't edit accordingly. And so then that is how you can basically get somebody off track, back on track, which includes you. And, it's this very, very simple habit that we have just gotten so far away from culturally.
I love the thinking. I mean, we're talking about, you said check-in. I mean, we're looking at connection, we're looking at conversation, and we're ultimately looking at community, the community of family, which is, it's amazing for us as parents, because, we're leading that family, and we're setting an example for our children on how to lead their family, how to be a part of a family. And I feel like we need more of that in the world. We need to love each other more. We need to see the light. And when there is darkness, if we can't find it, how are we gonna cope with it, right? And we all have darkness. And what in terms of moving forward with those people that are listening, is it if you're busy and you can't maybe eat, a meal a day together as a family, what's the next step? Should you try to schedule it? Do you have any practical ideas around that?
Yeah, I think it's time. And I think it's rethinking the times in which you have that engagement. And I think so often we get in this habit and we look for quick solutions. We say, okay, dinner's at 6. Oh, the kids have practice, so we can't have dinner tonight. Well, what if you have a early practice snack together? It's the same thing. You're sitting together, you're talking. Are you ready for practice? How was school? Do you like this pre-practice snack? Do you not? And so I was coaching a bunch of my kids' sports. And so their practice started at 5:30. So we had to leave the house at 5, which meant we were literally having pre-practice, almost like a first dinner. And then we would come back whenever the other kids came back for more food after practice. And then we would eat in little kind of mini teams. But the pre-practice group was still our little get together every evening. And so there's little ways around it. And it can be lunch, it can be afternoon tea, it can be breakfast. I knew a guy that his evenings were always crushed. And so his thing was he's going to make his kids breakfast every morning. And that's his deal. And so when I talk about the dinner habit, I talk about it's not just dinner, it's meals. All of the studies done were classified as meals together. And that is what your significant other's looking for. It's what your kids are looking for. It's what your roommate's looking for. They're just looking for a check-in. They're looking for engagement, not with your phone, not with anything else. They're looking for actual connection and interaction. And that stuff goes a long way. I mean, I did that before COVID, before all of the social isolation was destroying people's lives. And so now you're sitting there and you're going, I mean, it's probably more important now than ever.
Yeah. I mean, it is true. And what I'm taking away from it is in our household, because of early morning workouts, it's hard to eat breakfast together. And typically what we'll do is like one of us will make coffee for the other one, or my son. Now the new thing is like, hey, but son, when you're making your bagel, I want you to make Papa half a bagel too. And you're going to put the butter on and you're going to let me know when it's ready. So building structure around,
right.
I'll do the same thing for him. And it's a beautiful idea, how we can build a great recipe from a regular habit. It's like, we're going to,
yes.
What are we eating tomorrow? Well, we're going to eat salmon tomorrow. What are we eating on Thursday? Well, we're going to have, we got a pork tenderloin. We're going to eat the tenderloin, or,
right.
we're going to eat one vegan meal a week or whatever. And I actually find that with one of my team members, Bryce, when we started eating together, like our work style and our way of collaborating changed, which becomes difficult when you got remote employees, but
yes.
It's fascinating. I think I'd like to ask you, is there anything you want to talk about? Is there anything you're excited about or news you want to share or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, not outside of just continuing to grow. We did that new packaging refresh, which we launched, a month ago or 2 months ago, and that's going very well. But other than that, it is the roller coaster of consumer packaged goods every day.
Founder life. How do you have any tips for other founders that might be listening on things to not forget about or things to forget about?
I would say just own what you can own, control what you can control. And so for me, the biggest part is I can control my morning. I can control how I start the day. I can control my exercise. I can control my food. I can control the books I read. And just kind of all of that is curated because my job is to make good decisions at the end of the day. Right. And so how do I put myself in the best situation to make the best decisions that I can? And so often we, as founders or as entrepreneurs or anybody in business, the world uppercuts you basically when the sun comes up. And so how do you prepare to fight that fight? And if you properly prepare, then you are prepared for the fight. And so often everybody kind of takes this mentality of like, hopefully today's going to go well, or best case scenario. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not a thing. You have to be prepared for the other stuff. And so I would just say control what you can control. And for me, that is morning, exercise, food. And then after after all that is done, I'm pretty much prepared to take on whatever.
That's amazing. I love that that visual. That life will uppercut, the world will uppercut you. Our boy Dustin Finkel, the founder of Kapop, he has his version. He calls it the 2x4 rule. That as an entrepreneur, you'll get hit by a 2x4 several times during the week, and you just got to get the hell up and keep going.
There's no doubt.
And I'll give a shout out to my boy Jeb Banner. And Jeb's a good friend of mine. Lived the entrepreneurial life, several companies, and he said to me, which is exactly this is the sentiment you're putting out: is control the inputs, and the outputs will kind of take care of themselves. And get your workout in, get some good food in. What are you putting? Because as founders, we forget, right? We're giving. It's like, what are you listening to? What are you reading? What are you watching? So, hey, Greg, this has been fantastic. Everyone, please, think about why dinner matters. Take that into your own life, or one meal, or an edited, improvised version of that. I think you'll be really happy with that. We've done it for a long time, but now we're doing it consciously and talking about the impact with our kid. So, Greg, how can people find you?
Tessemae.com, any major grocery store, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can watch the TED Talk, and there you go.
Thank you so much for being here today. This episode has been brought to you by Firebelly, where we make brands more likable on social. Look forward to talking to you in the future, and thanks for listening in. See you on the flip side.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.